everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to the Haunt Collection podcast. As always, I'm your host, Chris Codina, and Happy New Year. This is the first episode of 2018. It is not a special episode or anything like that. It is literally just the first episode. New Year's Eve was the last one, so yeah. I didn't search out any New Year's creepypastas. I'm sure they exist, but I didn't look up any. And if you made resolutions, hopefully you can stick to them if that's what's best for you. I'm usually not a resolution person, mostly because I'm bad at following through on things, and I am a tremendous procrastinator. So I usually don't make resolutions because I don't like letting myself down because I do that enough already. But really the only thing I've been working on, like, majorly is my weight, which I was doing, almost for a year now. I started that back in April, so that isn't really a resolution, just to want to keep sticking with that. Although, I guess if there was any sort of resolution in the context of this show, it would be to continue looking for ways to make it better. I think it's been going pretty well. Since I think November, I've kind of enjoyed the episodes a lot. I thought the sort of Christmas episode that came out after Christmas, I Hear Santa's Reindeer, I really liked that episode. I liked last week's episode where I just talked a lot because I have trouble talking about things sometimes. I don't really know what to say. As you can tell by all the ums and uhs and likes, talking off the cuff isn't my strong suit. So the fact that I got like an extra 20 minutes just talking about stuff, I was really glad for. Hopefully it was actually interesting. I thought it was. That's why I kept it all in. Yeah, hopefully I can sort of keep, I think, kind of finding the groove with the show and like how I want to present myself. I think when I started, I was sort of hesitant to go on tangents, and I didn't like. I think I was kind of iffy on like with my personality. I think I was forcing it a bit. And now I'm sort of just comfortable making a joke when it comes to me and stuff like that. I'm comfortable just kind of going on a tangent. I'm pretty sure I've always done that, but it's just, a matter of kind of being comfortable with articulating my thoughts as I go. And I believe in my introduction episode, my 0 episode, I mentioned it, that I would like to do some, like, quote-unquote non-fiction episodes where I talk about, like, real ghost stories, again, quote-unquote. That's another thing. I believe in a lot of my early episodes, I would say quote-unquote in stories a lot when there was quotations, which is really bad. I don't know why I did that. But it's a tangent again. But yeah, like, I had this sort of idea for a non-fiction thing, and I haven't done any of those yet, and I would like to as well. The non-fiction part is that's just sort of on theme with the whole, it's the Haunt Collection, the digital library of horror stories. That's why I say nonfiction. Although, maybe you believe in ghosts. I do, personally, to an extent. We don't need to get into that. Maybe we can get into that when I start doing those episodes. They won't be, obviously, as common as, like, with the usual reading a story and critiquing it. But I think it'll be fun, for one, because that's stuff I'm interested in, and I think it fits with the, the idea of the show, and I think it would be a nice break sometimes to talk about something a little bit different, but still kind of look at it in the Haunt Collection way, as it were. I think that's about it for the housekeeping or the hellos or whatever. The story this week is I found it on the Creepypasta Wiki, and it was listed under their historical archive, which, from what I understand, is it's both stories collected that were written before 2010, which I guess is when the Creepypasta Wiki first started. So like from if I remember it when I saw the explanation of the category, it said a lot of them were taken from like 4chan's exports and stuff like that. I have never ventured on 4chan, because I'm old, and I feel like it's like I'm a millennial, but I'm an older millennial, and if there's like all the, I feel like, like millennial things are like, oh, it's memes and like 4chan and all that. Although I guess 4chan's been around a while, but you know what I mean. I feel like 4chan is sort of like, oh, it's Pepe the Frog, and here's this meme. Here's a memer. I speak in memes, and like all that missed me. And I feel like people that are like 2 years younger than me are all about that. And then, you know what I mean? It's so weird. I feel like it's just sort of like this very small mini generational gap between people who remember what it was like before, without having the internet, and then people who have like always had it for, most of their, well, I mean, I've had it for most of my life too, but you know what I mean? Like, it's just sort of, there's just weird thing where, like I said, I'm not a meme person. I might say one ironically, I might post one ironically, I might laugh at one, but I'm not a meme person. So 4chan, like, yeah, it completely missed me. And I've been on my share of, forums and stuff like that, but yeah, it's just, man, this, that was a tangent. But yeah, anyways, apparently a lot of these stories were taken off 4chan. It's either that, or there's other ones in the categories that are just ones that are out of the, or into public domain by this point, that are old enough that they're public domain. So it's like this mix of 4chan. If I could tell right, this sort of like category and subcategory is a mix of 4chan stories and like Edgar Allan Poe and like Lovecraft and stuff, which is funny. But that's the internet, right? Anyways, I've been talking for 8 minutes already, and I have an interesting story. This story is called The Lady Behind the Door. I've never heard of it, but I assume if it's like being kept here, maybe it's considered kind of a classic. I don't know. It's not in the suggested reading category of Creepypasta Wiki, so maybe not. But the fact that it was, I guess, deemed worthy enough to be collected in this section before the site existed, it might be. So without further ado, let's check out The Lady Behind the Door. It was night, and two guys in a classic car traveled down a lonely stretch of I-95 in Pennsylvania. The one in the passenger seat had a pensive look about him. The driver reached down to fiddle with the radio. They slowly pulled out ahead of me. Squinting through the darkness and the bug-dotted windshield of my 8-year-old Isuzu, I observed a blue bumper sticker with the words in white, Hillary 08, on it. God damn it, I hate those guys. Maybe this person is an Obama voter if he hates Hillary supporters in 2008, right? That's probably not what he's talking about. He probably knows who these people are and hates them. But let's see. Gabe looked at me inquiringly, still rubbing the sleep out of his eyes. You mean guys who look like they've been pulled out of some teen drama on basic cable? Huh. No. Guys who leave bumper stickers from previous elections. For fuck's sake, Hillary didn't even win the primary. Okay, so it is about that. And yeah, that, whatever. I mean, I don't care. I'm not a bumper sticker person. I don't, that's not something that I would, hate somebody over. That doesn't matter. Whatever. It doesn't matter. I made a joke and it was bad and I'm just expounding on it and it's bad. It was barely a joke. Anyway, where are we anyway? Gabe stretched out until his hands touched the car roof. Admittedly, that wasn't much of a stretch. He was one of those shaggy-looking, wiry fellows. Just out of Jersey. You think you can help me stay awake? The Blush twins back there aren't much of a help. My sister Prissy and her friend Claire were passed out in the back seat. When they drank more than they were used to, they had a tendency to turn red as tomatoes. That limit was 2 glasses of red wine. I like this so far. I like the voice of it. That's a thing that I think gets overlooked a lot in creepypasta is the voice. I feel like a lot of times a natural sounding voice works. It's the genre that you can kind of get away with writing in a sort of amateur fashion because it's more believable. I'm not saying this is amateur. Like, obviously you have to, have a grasp of writing in order to make it convincing and still sound good. But one that we haven't covered yet, but one that's pretty well known, is Anansi's Goatman story, which, as I recall, the voice in it is very, very casual and, not like flowery, or, it doesn't sound, like somebody is, a writer who's just looking to sell their first novel and stuff like that. The very casual voice, it helps. And, if it sounds natural, it makes the story more believable. That is, going back to I Hear Santa's Reindeer a couple episodes ago. That was one of the things that I liked about it, was its voice. It sounded very convincing. So yeah, let's see what our buddies are up to here. Is it Gabe? And I don't think we got the narrator's name. Gabe mumbled something that sounded like alcohol camels and responded, "Yeah, sure. There's not much to talk about though, Jack. Alcohol camels. That's an interesting one. I've never heard that." Well, it's night and Halloween is a day away. You ever seen anything that could be considered paranormal? That was always a good topic if two people need to stay awake through the night. I didn't even need to worry about it, no. Even the most logical human being has had that one weird experience, whether it was a bad trip or one of those waking nightmares experienced during sleep paralysis. Yeah, I think that's pretty common. I'm sure a lot of people say, well, no, they've never seen anything, but I think, most would say, hey, something unexplained happened. I've had my moments. Maybe we can get that more when I do this nonfiction thing, but I've had weird things. Like, even when it says sleep paralysis, that's not something that's happened to me often, but I've had my moments. And this doesn't have anything to do with the story, but, like, when it's talking about paranormal, like, I kind of get a little giddy. And so I think I'll save some of that stuff for the nonfiction episodes whenever I do them. Especially because it's a tangent we don't need to get onto. So let's see what Gabe's story is. Is this Gabe? It must be. I don't think he. Yeah, I think this is our narrator asked Gabe for his story. Well, no, but I swear to God, Jack, this one time I was 5, I remember flying. This isn't paranormal, but I had this one reoccurring nightmare back before my father left. Haven't had it recently, but I remember it pretty clearly. I was about 11 and remember lying in bed listening to a shouting match in the living room. My bedroom was on the 2nd floor, so I couldn't make out exactly what they were saying except for the occasional "fuck you." Then, I don't know, time passed, I fell asleep, the hall lights were out, the screaming stopped. The doorway to my room was half open. Next thing I know, I can't move, not even blink. But I could see things moving on the walls, man. It was trippy. Gabe was rubbing that scraggly blonde thing on his neck he called a beard as he told the story. "Don't stop there. What kind of things?" I said. "Don't stop now, boys." That's a reference only certain Chicago baseball fans would get. Anyways, shadows, man, shadows. But not like those stories on the internet. They had hair, like people hair. They were flat to the wall, except for the hair. It was like the hair was 3-dimensional, and the rest of them was 2-dimensional. They had different color hair, too. I mean, black and brown, normal people colors, but some of them weren't people shapes. They did have people hair, though. They all did. I could hear them say, "Carry on my wayward." The radio turned on without warning. Prissy had left the damn thing on at max volume. The girls in the back stirred with a bunch of thrashing thumps. I want to say that I went back and said that, or I sang that to make it more convincing and so that it was clear what was going on. You're welcome, or I'm sorry, whatever applies. But I like this imagery of the shadows flat against the wall, except they have real hair. It's different. It's a weird thing, and it's it's one of those where it's like, oh, well, those shadows, but they had, I could see their eyes, or I could see, their mouths, or something like that. You could see hair, and some of the shadows weren't like people, but they had people hair. It's very interesting imagery, and I'm curious what will come of it, if anything does. And I really like these sort of is it a coincidence thing of like, as he was about to say, I could hear, and then it cuts into Carry On My Wayward Son, because the radio just turns on by itself, blasting at max volume. It's I like that. You can picture that happening, right? It's a very like movie thing. This sort of it's a jump scare, but I like how it was done. To be honest, and it's sort of one of those. It's a tension breaker thing, and it's a cliffhanger because you want to hear what the rest of Gabe's story was. Yeah. But yeah, I like it so far. Like I said, I like the voice. I like where it's going, or I like what we've got so far. Rather, I don't know where it's going. So let's continue. I shut the radio off. Sorry about that. My elbow must have hit the dial. Gabe gave me a weird look before he went on. I was saying I could hear whispering and felt tingling on my toes. It felt like when a dog licks your toes. That's when I saw it. The big it. Or her. I really don't know. I like that comparative sentence right there. That's when I saw it, the big it, or her. I really don't know. I like that. It's a good one. It's a scary line. Mm-hmm. All I know is that thing was the boss, and all the rest of them were the bitches, because they all scattered off to the corners. She had really red hair, Christmas present red, and curly too. Its thin shadow was stretching out from behind my bedroom door. I didn't hear her voice, dude. I felt it. Not like telepathy, like felt it reverberate in my skull, almost as if it were that loud, nagging voice in your head when you've done something real bad. She said, the voice in my head said, "Dear, Jean on DVD this Friday at Walmart," blared the radio again. I shut it off again. I guess I should get that looked at. Sorry, go on. Gabe went on. It said, "Dear soul, you have grown so much. Why, you're so pink and cute. How'd like to come home with me? I could just dress you up with gravy. Look at those crinkles on your forehead. You look just like a juicy jelly donut. The powdery dough is always the best part of a fresh-baked donut." I didn't see a hand, but it felt like she pinched my cheek. Then the licking would not stop. Gabe pounded the would not stop on the passenger side of the dashboard. If I had not been focusing on the road ahead of me, Gabe would have seen the wide-eyed, bewildered look in my eyes. It was not over the dream. I have had weirder. The bewilderment extended from the clearly unresolved issue that were clearly... used clearly twice there, and that's awkward, but whatever. The bewilderment extended from the clearly unresolved issue that were clearly bubbling beneath Gabe's Chewbacca-like surface. It was just a dream, Gabe. I'm sorry I asked. Relax. I'll drive the rest of the night. One of the girls can take over in the morning. The night after our chat in the car, we spent the night in some shit motel in northern Georgia. In the morning, we found Gabe's feet up in a garbage bin behind the Waffle House next door. Ooh. This is credited to the Tower. Okay, so, I'm trying to, process this. How do I feel about this? I don't know. I got a chill from that last line, but, I'm trying to think. It sort of just jumps to it, right? Okay, he had weird dreams about strange shadow people with real hair, one of which in particular was obviously talking about eating him, and a specific feeling that he would his feet were being licked. And the ending, it's implied that he was, I guess, Gabe maybe disappeared, and his feet are found in the garbage bin. In the morning, we found Gabe's feet up in the garbage bin behind. It's kind of tough. Like, the way the last sentence is written, it sounds like it's just his feet, but like Gabe's feet up, and so it's one of those like, Let me look at the comments real quick. There's only 3 of them. I'm curious. I like the reference to Supernatural, Nice Touch. I don't think Gabe was supposed to talk about it. The radio has a good sense of killing drama. Okay, so not too much there. I think I'm kind of disappointed in the ending. Just because I feel like we maybe missed something. Although, I like the idea that they kind of sort of tried to go mysterious with this, and I think there's a lot of strong imagery in here. Like I said, I think the 2-dimensional shadows with 3-dimensional hair is pretty effective. I've liked the voice, like I said. I like the sort of radio jumping on, like sort of like the comment said, it seemed like he wasn't supposed to talk about it. Like it was sort of that, the radio was trying to stop him from talking. One thing, when was it that Gabe said he stopped having the dream? Here it is. Let me see here. I was about 11. Well, I know. I remember when I was. This isn't paranormal, but I had this one recurring nightmare back before my father left. Haven't had it recently, but I remember it pretty clearly. So he hasn't had it recently, and so it doesn't seem like there's an indication that it would be happening soon or anything like that. So my thing is, obviously, it seems like, okay, he had this recurring dream. These things kept happening. These creatures or whatever, these entities kept appearing to him. But they stopped recently, and now it seems like they've come back. So the question is like, him talking about it, like, were they gone, but him talking about it brought them back? I get that this is sort of, it's kind of like supposed to be like the quick, like, here's a quick spooky story, but it's one of those where I feel like there's a little bit of information missing. And I feel like I say this whenever I don't like a story that tries for the restraint thing. Not that this was super restrained. This is one of those where, like, I feel like the questions I'm left with aren't necessarily good ones. And it's like, I feel like the last line not being clear to me is also kind of screwing me up, because I'm pretty certain that it means like they just found his feet, but why would they just find his feet? If they were being licked, I would think that they were tasting them, or I don't know. I mean, and if that's not what it means, if it didn't mean that he was, if his body's just in there and his like feet are sticking up, yeah. And I do like the idea. It's like, kind of, oh, he goes missing and like they just find his feet in the dumpster next door. That's pretty weird and creepy. I like that. I just don't necessarily like how we got there. You know what I mean? Yeah, I feel like I keep like pausing to think on this. I don't hate it, but it's just one of those where I just kind of feel confused, and I feel like it sort of did that where it's like weird for the sake of weird, and that hurt it a little bit. Because it was one of those words where I got to the end and I just kind of went like, what? Like, what happened? Like, I need to go back and read, what did I miss? And I don't feel like I missed anything. I just sort of like, just being left confused. And, yeah, that bothers me a bit. Like I said, there's a lot of things I like about this. It's just, it has an issue that, I don't like. I like the resolution. I like, okay, Gabe's feet ended up in the dumpster next door. Weird, creepy. I like it. Like I said, it gave me a little chill. Even just like reading that sentence, like gave me a chill. And so just like the bigot or her, I liked that, too. Just yeah, like I said, I feel like we missed a sentence, maybe, something. We missed a little something to kind of bridge the gap in a way of what happened that night. Like, I just kind of know. I want to know why it only took Gabe now. Like, why did it never take him before? He didn't say like he did anything. It was just like, oh, I was having this dream where this creature talked about eating me, and it just never happened, and the dreams went away for a while, and all of a sudden it just happens now. I'm not sure why. So yeah, that's kind of like, that's what I'm missing, is these sort of, how did we get from, point A to C? That's kind of, I just wanted a little something to imply that, okay, this is why it happened now, finally. Maybe that's the radio being like, okay, well, he's talking about it, and now that's why he's talking about it, so he's finally getting taken. But that's just sort of conjecture. That's like kind of picking up because that's the only thing there possible, and I don't know if the connection is there. It's, he felt the pinch on his cheek, the licking would not stop. Yeah, it's like I said, there's imagery in there that I like. There's the voice in it I like, the writing I like. There was an issue in here there. I think there was a typo somewhere, and there was like 2 used words. That's whatever. I'm not taking points off of that. If I awarded points, really, I don't. I just say whether I like something or not. And yeah, I don't hate this. I don't even think it's like that bad. I just think it's missing something. Like sometimes we have stories where it's like, okay, somebody just had like this one idea and they did their best to make something out of it, which I don't know, maybe that is writing, but it's everything else suffers just because it's trying to get to that point, and that was not the case here. The lead up worked. Like if this person's idea was like feet in a dumpster, it that doesn't seem to be the only thing about this story. But yeah, like I said, it just kind of bugs me that we just sort of jumped to that. I almost wish this was a little bit longer. Give me a little more. Give me a little more from Gabe. Just give me something. Because like I said, this sort of just kind of comes out of nowhere, and it's kind of frustrating to me. Yeah. So that's The Girl Behind the Door, credited to Tower. I think that's about all I have to say on it. Like I said, I'm just kind of scratching my head on it. It took me a few minutes there, River, to decide whether I liked it or didn't, or where did I fall on it. Yeah, this is an interesting one because, like I said, it has its moments. It definitely has strong points. It just sort of falls a little flat on the end. It could have used, like I said, maybe a sentence, maybe another short paragraph, just to kind of like, get us to the hotel or the motel, and give us something that night. Give us something from Gabe or something like that. I don't know. I don't know. I'm having a tough time saying exactly what I would do to improve this. Which is bad criticism if I can't give like hey, do this, but that's just that's what I feel is I feel like we just kind of jumped the gun a sentence too early, a couple sentences too early. We jumped the gun to the finish, and yeah, I think what I want, I'm pretty sure I said it, but yeah, what I want is the reason why it finally came to get Gabe. Like I said, the only thing we can think of is because he was talking about it. especially with the radio and stuff, like, seemed like it was trying to interrupt him. Like, no, stop talking about it. That's the only thing. But, which is fine. It's just, there was nothing in the dream description that would be like, if you ever tell anybody about this, like, it didn't have to be that direct, but, like, some semblance of, like, either the entities would finally take him if he ever did this thing, or if they were just waiting, like, what were they waiting for? That's my thing. Like, what were they waiting for? Why now? If it was like they had to wait for him to tell somebody, I kind of wish we had some inkling of that, some sign of it in, the creature's speech or something, some feeling that he had, anything like that. Because he has been having these dreams since he was a kid, and even then, the creature seemed pretty intent on eating him and, licking his feet or whatever it was doing to his feet. Yeah, I'm not sure, but that's my feelings on it. Pretty good. Just kind of frustrating, because I feel like it could have been really good, with just a little bit more. It was obviously less is often more. It's just, in my opinion, we needed a little bit more. But yeah, like I said, strong imagery. It's just cool stuff here. It's just, I don't know, I'm repeating myself at this point, because that's, like I said, I'm sort of like talking to myself at the same time, like, yes, this is how I feel about it. I'm reaffirming how I feel about it, because obviously I was sort of, on the fence on where exactly I fell on this. So, final opinion, pretty good. Just some problems kept it from going, to really good status. But I think that's going to do it for this week. This was an interesting one. I'm glad I picked this one. I just got out of the list of all the stories in this category on the Creepypasta Wiki, I was just like, okay, well, this one looks decent, and I saw it was a little bit shorter. I try to keep the ones I read a little bit on the shorter end, because I don't want to always do super long episodes. By super long, I mean, like, going towards an hour and all that. Just because, like, where I'm at right now, I don't want to, like, scare people off, or it's like, well, if I want to listen to all this guy's stuff, I have to, take days to go through the archives. Not that, like, I'm almost at 35 minutes at this point talking before editing, so, it's going. But, it's, I just sort of clicked on this one. Anyways, that's what I was getting at. I just said, oh, hey, that's I kind of judged it by title. I was like, well, that one sounds interesting. It looks about the right length. Let's read it. And, I'm glad I did, because this is sort of a different one. It's sort of, kind of like the Psychosis, thing where, everything before it was really great, and then it has that really disappointing ending for me. That's gonna do it. I'm kind of just rambling about my opinion on it now, and that's not interesting. So that's gonna do it for the Haunt Collection this week. I will catch you next week. Like I said, maybe we'll do something different. Maybe we'll do that nonfiction thing next week. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how the week goes. Thanks for listening. As usual, follow or whatever. Like, subscribe, follow on social media. All the links are in the description. The link to read the story yourself will be included. Thanks for listening. I don't know if I say that enough. I should start saying that, like, all the time. Thanks for listening. I appreciate it. I really do. Other than that, later.